Wintry Neighborhood Winter Spell, bringing you something I promised. I know, again, the video quality is not the best. I still have a cruddy Walmart phone. So what I promised to bring you today is the deck profile for the structure deck. There are two versions, Blaster Blade and Dragonic Overlord. And honestly, I'm excited to show them off. I wanted Blaster Blade. I got my hands on it. A friend of mine got their hands on Dragonic Overlord, and at some point we want to fight each other. So first off, what is Shadowverse Evolve? It's still, I think, fairly new in the card game scene. Shadowverse itself is an online card game, which is, I mean, they call it, it's a Hearthstone style game. You know, you play your followers, you attack the enemy leader, things like that. So I'm not entirely sure when this game itself came out, online, but it's also not horribly different. The biggest differences are that evolution is not the same as it is online. In the online game, you get evolution points, 2 if you go first, 3 if you go second, and once per turn you can spend an evolution point to evolve one of your creatures and make it stronger. The difference here is that while, yes, you do have evolution points, which they have it right here, only the player going second gets points, and you can only evolve certain creatures. So you get an evolution deck, which is off to the side of your deck, that has up to 10 cards in it, and you put the evolved card to evolve. So like I said, unlike the game, it's only specific cards that evolve, while in the online game, it's any card. Because the way Shadowverse works is you get up to 10 play points, and you get 1 per turn. So both start during your turn, and in certain cases, your opponent's turn, if there is a quick effect, like I'm going to show you later. So first off, every Shadowverse Evolve deck has a leader. So my leader is, of course, Aichi Sendo. Now, Aichi is both a Vanguard leader and a Swordcraft leader. So that means that in this deck, I can use Vanguard cards and I Swordcraft cards. Swordcraft being one of the crafts that focuses on getting out followers and getting effects based on how many you have. Swordcraft is one of my favorite ones, and I really do like it. I've played a lot of Swordcraft on Champions Battle, so I could include some of my favorite Swordcraft cards in this deck. However, there is also an advantage to keeping it purely Vanguard, which I'll go over in a moment. So like I said, this is if I have a leader like this, any card from this expanded set I can use. Like, I could put Dragonic Overlord, get something special that I would lose if I mix the deck. Specifically, a starting amulet. For those who don't know, with Cardfight Vanguard, you get a grade 0, which is the start of your field. The grade 0 is your Vanguard. You ride from there, going to grade 1, 2, then 3. So for the Vanguard decks, you get to have a starting amulet. An amulet is kind of like a set spell in Shadowverse. And you can only have this if you're playing a purely Vanguard deck. So mine is Stardust Trumpeter. Normally this would cost me 2. I can activate this ability, tap this card, then bury it. And I can select a Vanguard follower in my field, give it +1 toughness and +1 power. So like I said, start of the game, I can have this start face down and then flip it up when the game starts, since I have a purely Vanguard deck. As I said, the deck does come with 3 evolution points. I put that in separate sleeves just so I know what it is. It also did come with a 10-card evolution deck, which I'm going to go over later. So the first card in this deck that I have is Wingull. Wingull is Blaster Blade's companion. It's really cool. This is my first 1-drop card. And by the way, these structure decks do come with a little promo pack. And out of my promo pack, I did pull this shiny Wingull here, and a shiny Lake Maiden Leanne, which I'll show later, as well as a very special rarity of Kingdom. Select a Blaster Blade in my cemetery and summon it. So honestly, I would keep the 3 copies of Wingull in the deck just because the deck itself is built around Blaster Blade. So the next card we have is Lake Maiden Leanne. A necessary thing for each deck you have, unless you have a high follower destruction deck. The followers with Ward are your blockers. So she's also got a great Fanfare ability. Fanfare is an ability that activates when the card enters the field. I can ditch a Royal Paladin from my hand and select a Royal Paladin in my cemetery and add it to my hand. So that's honestly a really good thing. That gives me graveyard flexibility. I absolutely love it. Plus, since my starting amulet does not cost anything, I can easily make this a 3/4 ward on my second turn, which is a fantastic blocker to start the game with. Our next 2-drop we have is Knight of Roses Morgana. So she's actually the first in this deck that has an interesting ability that's new to Shadowverse with the Vanguard sets. So in Cardfight Vanguard, your Vanguard has the ability to do drive checks. When it attacks, you check the top card of your deck looking for a trigger, which can add power to your units and add certain effects. And grade 3s have twin drive, so they check for 2. So you can actually use that ability in this game. You can give a follower drive. So Morgana is one of the cards in this deck that can do that. And then on-drive abilities happen when drive is initiated. So that wouldn't be every time you do a drive check. That would be when drive is applied to it. So she's pretty good because I can burn an enemy follower for 2 and give Morgana +1/+1 once I activate drive. And I only got to pay 1 to give it drive. And I can discard a Royal Paladin card on strike, which is when this card attacks, and give this follower +1/+1. Notice that does not say until end of turn. That's just a straight +1/+1. So in one turn, I could straight up make her a 4/4. It's pretty fantastic. And I'm very fond of Morgana. Next card we've got is one of the main cards of the deck. It is our boy Blaster Blade. Aichi Sendo's main card, his avatar. And honestly, I love this art because my very first Vanguard card was actually Blaster Blade, and it was the promo from the first volume of the Cardfight Vanguard manga, which I do have every volume of that series. I love it so much. And this is the art that my original card had. So by paying 1, I can evolve this follower. And you'll see its evolved form when I pull out the evolution deck at the end. So this card has single drive, and if it's put onto the field by an ability like Wingull's, I can just straight up evolve it for free. So obviously there's 3 of those in the deck because he is the main dude. Next, I've got 2 copies of Knight of Conviction Boars. 3 copies come with the deck, but I took out 1 copy of Boars to replace it with a Solitary Knight Gancelot, and you will see why in a moment. Because I was only able to open a pack, and I got Gancelot out of it, so I'm like, yeah, I need to put it in here. And I was told at the store, if you don't put this in your deck, you're dumb. So Boars is another card that has drive. He also has a sail. Followers with a sail can attack reserved followers. Reserved, I believe, I'm still trying to figure that out. I think it's when it's untapped, because when you have your card in the field, you can tap it to attack. I believe reserved means it's untapped. Normally you can't attack it, but this allows it to. And on drive, which, just pay 1 to get drive, this follower gets +2/+2, making it a 5/5. So it's a decent card. It's replaceable, yeah, but it's decent. And I like it. Next, we have another card with Ward, Little Sage Marin. Little Sage Marin is an absolute classic. I love him. He is the original Royal Paladin 8K booster. In the original Vanguard, every clan had certain copies of cards. Each of them had a vanilla 8K grade 1. Each of them had a vanilla 10K grade 2. Each had their own perfect guards and different cards that had the same effect so that it would be fair. So Little Sage Marin is one of Aichi's OG cards, and I love it. So it's a 3/4 with Ward, and when I play it, I can check the top 5 of my deck, take a Royal Paladin from it, put it in my hand, and put the rest on the bottom of my deck in any order. Like, this is a very powerful card, especially in a 40-card deck. Checking 5 cards is checking, let's see, if it's 40 and it's 5, that's checking an eighth of your deck in one hit. That's pretty powerful. So next I have one copy of Solitary Knight Gancelot. Like I said, this card was a third copy of Boars, but I did want to put it in even before testing the deck because I'm like, you know what? He's good enough that he's probably going to replace Boars as it is. Okay, so first he's got Rush, Assail, and Twin Drive just off the bat. So when he attacks, I can check the top 2 cards in my deck. Rush means that normally Shadowverse cards have Summoning Sickness like they do in Magic. So I wouldn't be able to attack with this guy first turn, but Rush allows him to attack an enemy follower the first time he's hitting the field. Now, if there's a Blaster Blade in my cemetery when this guy enters, I can draw 2 cards and discard a card. For the rest of my turn, this fella takes no damage. Also, for everybody who's saying hi in the comments, thank you so much. I'm really glad that you guys are engaged and watching. I don't fully know how to answer the comments as they're flashing on the bottom of my screen, but I'm always really glad to see people engaging, so thank you for that. So yeah, no, Gancelot's pretty amazing. I mean, he's a 4/4, 4-drop. I don't have anything in this deck that's more expensive than a 5-drop. But that's pretty normal, I think, for Swordcraft. You want to have lower cost followers. So now we have one of our big boys in the deck. This is Alfred Early. I got 3 copies of him. So he can evolve for 2. It evolves into a King of Knights Alfred. So he doesn't actually have abilities beyond that because he is literally there just to evolve. But I still want to run 3 because, yeah, I want to see Alfred in that game. I need Alfred in that game. He is the heavy hitter in my deck. So next we have 3 copies of Knight of Silence Galatine. This was Aichi's vanilla 10K attacker in the original Vanguard. And honestly, I've always loved his design. So he's another card that I can pay to give him drive. On drive, he gets 1/1, and I can deal 3 damage to each enemy leader. So this guy is destructive in multiplayer games. Now, I would also like to point out that drive also gives rush to whatever creature it's on. So if you've got 6 play points to spend, you can whip out Galatine and rush right away and start clearing the field. Because his fanfare ability also lets him deal 5 damage to an enemy follower. So he's a really heavy hitter, and it's absolutely fantastic. Next, there's only one type of spell in the deck, which I feel like they've done on purpose because Vanguard originally was only creature cards. Orders came much later, which acted like spell cards. So here's my spell cards that I've got. I've got 3 copies of Flash Shield Assault. Assault was the perfect guard for Royal Paladins originally. Perfect guard being a grade 1 that you could discard a card and completely nullify an attack. Opponent's turn, damage step. So I can choose one to either hit an enemy follower on the field for 2 damage or ditch a Royal Paladin card, select an enemy follower, deal it 3 damage, and give my leader +2 defense. Defense is your life points in this game. So yeah, 3 of those are staying in absolutely. Unlike Vanguard, Shadowverse does have a 3-card limit. That is why there's only 3 copies of things in here. So next we're moving on to the triggers. So in Cardfight Vanguard, triggers are cards you reveal from the top of your deck if you're doing a drive check, and they can add certain effects to your attacks. Critical triggers add next damage. Heal triggers can heal one of your damage if you have equal to or more damage than your opponent. Draw triggers let you draw a card. Stand triggers let you untap a follower on the field, and you can attack again with it. Front triggers target your entire front row and give it power. And, over triggers, over trigger! Those give like a million power to something and usually have a really powerful effect. This deck has come with draw trigger, heal trigger, critical trigger, and stand trigger. The original rainbow set, that's what they call rainbow triggers, would be one of each. So first off, we got our Margol. So the triggers in Shadowverse Evolve are special. So they have abilities if they're played normally, or they have abilities if they're played by a drive check. So Margol, he's honestly decent because there are some cards in here that require you to have 15 Royal Paladins in the graveyard. So his fanfare ability, you can ditch a Royal Paladin and draw a card. That's really cool. If he's revealed by a drive check, you just straight up draw a card. So honestly, starting the game with a copy of Margol in my hand, I actually enjoy that. Because I'm like, okay, now I have a 2/2 beater for 1 drop, and I can start filling my graveyard first turn. Plus, he's a cool robot dog, and I like him. Margol was my original draw trigger, and I've always loved him. So next, we've got the OG heal trigger from Royal Paladin, Yggdrasil Maiden Elaine. So she's a 2-drop, 2/3 with Ward. So you've got 9 cards with Ward in this deck, which that means there's a lot of defense, and I appreciate that. So Elaine is a 2/3, 2-drop. So her fanfare abilities, you give your leader +2 defense, but if it's revealed by a drive check, you give your leader +3. Now, the way that the drive checks work, I had to have someone explain this to me. You're revealing the top card of your deck. If it's not a trigger, you just put it at the bottom of the deck. If it is a trigger, you use the ability, then you put it in your cemetery. So unlike Vanguard, where it just goes in your hand. Next, we have one of my favorite, triggers from Royal Paladin. We've got Future Knight Lou. He was used originally as a combo to get out Blaster Blade from the deck. You would use him, Barkgull, and Flogel, and you would just straight up ride Blaster Blade from the deck. For this guy, he's a 2-drop, 2/3. You can ditch a Vanguard card, search your deck for Blaster Blade, and add it to your hand. Now, if he's revealed in a drive check, a follower on your field gets +2 power. So honestly, either way, it's incredibly powerful. Now here is the last set of cards, Flogel, a 2-drop, 2/3, original stand trigger that we would see in Royal Paladin, and a fan favorite. At the start of your end phase, you can refresh this card, which means you untap it. And if it's revealed as a drive check, you can refresh an enemy or refresh a follower on your field, but for the rest of the turn, it can't attack enemy leaders, which is fair. Because that would be really unfair if you hit all 3 of these on drive checks, if you untap something with drive, and then you just slammed your opponent for like the last friggin' 15 damage they needed just with that 1 follower. So last but not least, let's move on to the Evolve deck. So as I said, the Evolution deck can have up to 10 cards. And yes, I do know these are Magic sleeves. I do not have other sleeves for this deck. So first off, the deck comes with 4 drive points. This is what you put on a creature that is activated drive. Little fly needs to go away. So something with drive gets rush and single drive. So this I just straight up put on one of my creatures that activates drive. I've got 4 in the deck, which means I can activate drive 4 times, which should honestly, if I'm activating drive more than 4 times in a game, I feel like at that point I should just give up because I'm not doing so hot. Next, I have 3 copies each of my evolution cards. So first off, the Evolved Blaster Blade, which again, another photo I appreciate because that was the Blaster Blade from the original structure deck. So it has single drive, and on evolution, you select an enemy follower on the field and deal it damage equal to 2 times the number of Royal Paladin followers on your field. it becomes a 4/4. And honestly, this ability works because the original ability of Blaster Blade was Counterblast 2, get a follower on the field and just get rid of it. So a destruction effect. So honestly, this works. Now, the way that evolution works in this game, I'll explain it briefly because it does make sense, and I had to check this to make sure. So let's say I play my Blaster Blade and I evolve it. The evolved form will go over it. This, the other Blaster Blade, this does not go in the graveyard until this is destroyed. And once this is destroyed, this goes to the cemetery, and this will go back to the evolution deck face up. And I cannot use face up evolution cards once they've returned, because originally it starts face down. So then the other evolution card I have, because there's 2 cards that can evolve in this deck, is King of Knights Alfred, the ace of the deck. And yes, that's the regular version. This is the SL version that I pulled from my pack. It was in the promo pack for the deck. It is beautiful and I love it. So it's got Storm and Twin Drive. So I get to make 2 drive checks. And Storm is a powered up version of Rush. So this does not have summoning sickness, just like Rush, but I can attack the enemy leader when this is played, not just a creature. So on evolution, I search my deck for a Royal Paladin follower that costs 3 or less, and I summon it, then shuffle, which is most likely I'm going to be targeting my Blaster Blade. If there are at least 15 Royal Paladin cards in my cemetery, give it and this follower +1/+1. So this is, of course, a callback to the original Alfred's ability, where he's not only powered up from having Royal Paladins on the field, but you can also Counterblast 3 and Superior Call a Royal Paladin from your deck. So honestly, this is the boy. This is my winning image for the deck. Builds up to him. And with the Twin Drive, I'm going to be possibly hitting a lot of power-ups, and I cannot wait. So that is the Royal Paladin structure deck for Shadowverse Evolve. Honestly, I really like it. I'm excited to play this. I'm a little surprised that my first Shadowverse Evolve deck is going to be Swordcraft instead of Dragoncraft, because let's be honest, I have sunk so many hours into playing Dragoncraft that it is unbelievable. I mean, even online, I had my Dragoncraft mermaid deck that is just toxic as crud, because every time I play one of my mermaids, the defense of not apologizing and the fact that they're all mermaids just kind of makes it funnier to me. But it also makes sense because even from the start, I think like the second or third set, Dragoncraft had orcas and a few other sea creatures and leviathans in there. So sea creatures are part of Dragoncraft for some reason. And that is from the beginning that they were part of Dragoncraft. Like there's literally, I think, some princess in the Dragoncraft second or third set that you evolve it and it summons 2 orcas going, what's good? Very funny. It's a funny card, as one of my friends used to say. Yeah, that card is funny. It just scan your leader card in the app, and then your leader is the one showing up there in the life point counter. I need the box topper version of this to make that work, apparently. So for now, I just got to use one of the 2 Swordcraft leaders that are already in there. And I'm kind of annoyed because I really wanted to hear Aichi, because I really do love him as a card game protagonist. And I really liked seeing his journey of growth in the original Cardfight Vanguard series, which was like the first card game series where they really let the main characters lose. And that was one of the reasons I liked it. It seemed more realistic with the idea of, yeah, you're not the best. You started playing 5 minutes ago. Of course you lost. Now what are you going to do about it? And then Aichi's like, well, time to lock in scenes where Team Quadrifolio, the main characters, are working on their decks going, okay, this is what I need to do. And there's a whole arc where We see Misaki Tokura, the Oracle think tank player of the team in the second season. She's still using her deck that she won nationals with in season 1. And they're like, yeah, you got to keep evolving, girl. You got to not be afraid to change your deck. And she comes back with an amazing new deck. And then in season 3, she's using a whole different clan. She goes from Oracle Think Tank to Genesis. And I think that's really cool, showing growth and evolution. And one of the other characters, Kamui Katsuragi, he is a very go-getter. He's very excitable. He's got a lot of passion. And seeing him figure out that he's not the best thing on the block and realizing how he can grow, that's really cool. Like, there's a lot of character growth in this. They're not just, look, as much as I love the Pharaoh and Yugi, I kind of feel like they're a bit of a Mary Sue, because the Pharaoh is just going to win almost no matter what, except for like the couple of times he's lost because the script called for it. Jaden just didn't lose because he was Jaden. I feel like Yusei got his butt kicked a bit more and seemed a bit more real. But like I said, card game protagonists, they usually are kind of like, hey, I showed up, I won everything, here you go. But Vanguard had real growth and real change, and they seemed like actual people. And I really appreciated that. And that's why I was so excited for this. And a few months ago, I had looked at Shadow Evolve and I wanted to play it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wait until the Vanguard stuff comes out because I love Vanguard so much. And I think that will be a good time to get into the game. So this is my first Shadowverse Evolve deck. I'm going to try to get someone to play a match with me so you guys can see how it works. I also got to find my... I'm going to have to find my recording neck. It's somewhere in storage. It's something I attach it to like the table, and it's one of them bendy necks. But I'm going to try to get out a game for you guys so you can see how cool this is. I'm really excited. It's a fusion of two games that I really love, and I cannot wait to try this out. And I feel like I'm going to be better at Swordcraft than the actual character that uses Swordcraft. Because, you know, look, Kazuki, my man. You're cool. You're a fantastic baseball player. But my gods above, you are dumb. There is a reason you do not reach Grandmaster rank with the rest of us. No, but the characters in Shadowverse Champions of Battle are wonderful. They are the characters from the show. I really do like them. And look, I admire the Swordcraft player's passion, but he is not the brightest bulb on the cake. He is just not. But we love him anyway. All right, guys. So this is, like I said, that is the Shadowverse Evolve Royal Paladin deck. I'll see if my buddy will let me make a profile for the Dragonic Overlord deck. Like I said, this looks like a lot of fun. I'm really glad that I pulled the fancy version of Alfred out of the promo pack that came with the deck. And I'm really excited to try this out and see just how fun this game is. I've already done some Phantom Hands, and it looks really cool. The deck itself looks fantastic, although it's the smallest deck that I've played in a while because I've been playing like nothing but Commander. And this is only like a 40-card deck, technically 39 because the starting amulet stays out here. But this should be really cool, and I'm excited. So, like I said, we'll get out some games for you guys at some point. Really got to test this out and enjoy it. Until next time, this has been your wintry neighborhood winter spell. Reminding you guys to stay frosty, and I will see you in the next video.